I hope people can hear us. Hello and welcome to the round 5 of the RP Series Championship, Season 5, Laguna Seca. I am James, and to my my south is Jurgens Usthuizen. I'm probably butchering that. Hello. And we are replacing the great usual regular commentator of That Husky, who is currently complaining about us having been slightly late in the chat. In this RP Series race. So let's see if my intro overlays can actually work. There we are. Now the track is live and we can see everything going on. Are you looking forward to this race, Cookie? The weather is certainly going to be interesting. I don't know what happened with my thing there. My screen bounced around a bit, but let's have a look before we get into qualifying at the championship standings thus far. I realise why you can't hear them. They can't hear you. Now they should be able to hear you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you anyway. We'll wait for them to find out.
We will see. Most likely a microphone problem.
Oh,
We
no,
didn't have the cables hooked up.
It was a my end problem. There are 2 audio bars, one of which I didn't press. So, shall we go through? I believe you have the standings ready to go. Do you want to go through them before we get into?
Yes. I can give you a run through of the top 3 in every class so
Let's
far, where the
go.
sharp end of each class is.
Let's go for pro. I have the pro standings on screen now. Look at those sexy
So,
graphics.
for pro, we currently have Danny Zenon leading the standings by 39 points, which is kind of a... He's been doing it through sheer consistency power this season. He's managed, I think, podiums in pretty much all the races. His drop round result is a P3. Bongus sits second in the pro standings with a solid, respectable score of 35. And then Beeg, impressively, is third for pro, considering he has only attended 2 of our race meetings so far.
Oh.
Continuing down the pro standings, we go down with Robin Moe, Battenberg, Tenner, Saunders. And then getting down, we have Cook, Randall, and Moreno, who have all only been able to make a few of our race meetings so far.
And moving on to silver then, with our relatively small silver class category, we have Arnold. Ian Arnold in first with 42 points, followed closely by Toby Long with 40. Curtis Forcer 39. And so on. Can't remember if that's just spelt wrong or is that someone actual in here.
Silver looks to be quite interesting for the rest of the championship, considering that it is very close in terms of points. We've got a spread of only 3 across the top 3 in silver.
We should note, though, actually, that the drop week is factored in at all times. And as such, this does not reflect how the results might stand at the end of the day. As if anyone scores less or more than their current drop week, that will be accounted for. So moving into the slightly larger AM field, do you want to go through it whilst I reset for qualifying?
The AM field is fairly large, actually. Yeah, we've got an interesting situation with the AM field. We've got what originally was a tie on the AM standings. I must have done a miscalculation somewhere. I think is it Max Schurper?
Yes, it is.
He is currently leading AM field. His drop week is a DNF, whereas Gottlieb is currently running a second place drop week, which goes to show how consistent he's been over the season, with both of their drop weeks coming at Spa so far, clearly having been one of the more, let's say, dangerous race events we've done.
And as we move in quickly as the cars make their way, GT4 category takes the first 15 minutes of qualifying on making their way around their outlet to GT4 standings to go alongside Lee Taylor, a very dominant lead with 48 points in the Alpine A110 car that has been ridiculously dominant this season. As someone in that category myself.
Lee has been absolutely tearing it up this season. His drop week's a second place, which is pretty crazy to think that his worst result so far this season has been second place, and he's won all of the other GT4 classes so far this season, which is baffling, to be honest.
He has truly been, I believe, yes, he has only not won one race thus far. And he is followed by Langevin with 36, Nathaniel Foltz-Rochelau with 30, Tom Hatcher with 22, Axman with 19, Aaron Rains with 16, and the order descends from there. Quite a crowded field in GT4, but as we were talking about earlier amongst ourselves, it's to be expected considering the class not being broken up into lower categories.
Husky says he wants to be in AM next season. Well, there's an easy solution for that, but can't condone it exactly. It's just go slower, unfortunately.
Yeah, but then you have to go slower in the races as well to not get bumped up, at which point
You have to go slower in a consistent manner.
be slow and consistently slow. I'm sure I know I can manage it, but others maybe not so much. Shall we begin the proper broadcast?
Yeah, sure.
Here we
Whilst
are.
I try and get race control to do its thing. It does not want to. Are you able to get your timing screens to work?
My timing screens are coming on now.
Okay.
Well, we have Hoove on the move. I believe he should now be on his first lap. Currently coming up to the corkscrew. I shall stream to you, actually. I just realised I'm not. Oh, the fun of doing a stream. There you go. Everyone hears the sexy Discord streaming noise.
Thank you very much.
Probably find a way to disable all of my noises on here, but I'm not sure how.
It is currently frozen.
My stream on Discord?
Yes.
That is odd. Oh yeah, so it is. Huh. It is frozen. Well, that's unfortunate.
That's okay.
Well, we'll see if it comes alive later on. Luckily, the stream at home seems to be continuing to work.
We've currently got just 4 cars for the GT4 class.
Yep, we have Lee Taylor currently leading the pack. Coming now round towards the Rahal Straight, I believe. His current best time, a 1:37.897. And with the rain looking to increase, it'll be interesting to see how many cars manage to improve their times over this session. What do you think, Cookie? Do you think we're going to get some improved times?
The weather does look to be ramping up on the forecast, so there's the potential for improvement on a driver per basis. So the drivers themselves physically finding a little bit more time at a corner, but on track evolution, I'm afraid I don't think will be happening this quali session.
Husky is telling me numpad 0, you can cycle tower modes. Well, unfortunately, it does not want to work. I can't remember what button it is. I'm not going to start mashing buttons. But you can see the top 4, the GT4s in this current lobby, at the top of the timing table at the moment. Oh no. Oh, there we are. I can do it. I just had to turn numlock off. So as we see Hoover coming around turn 1, or turn 2 as it officially is. I don't quite trust in that. It currently seems to be slightly down in his time. Did you manage to get your timings working, Cookie?
I'm just working on it at the moment. They were working earlier.
Anxman at the moment currently several tenths up on his time as he comes under the bridge. Coming around turn 4 now. Up the short straight, turn 5. Which is another short straight. This essentially, his track is a consecutive number of short straight. With a couple of nice little corners coming on. Unfortunately, not too much to talk about. Now we have a 5th Nathaniel Foltz-Rocheleau has now rejoined his class in the Porsche GT4 car. It'll be interesting to see if he can get some laps in the next 7 odd minutes, 8 minutes even, that he has to complete this qualifying session. A very short lap around here, thankfully for him. Not like when we were out in Bathurst last time round, which is a very long out lap followed by a long actual quali lap.
Especially if you have a crash at any point, at which point the whole process becomes even longer.
Of course, crash is not entirely unlikely in these conditions and with this this track's particular corners, which will be quite interesting, I think, during the race. At the moment, we have 21 cars in total on the grid, with 5 GT3s and 5 GT4s and 16 GT3s.
Watkins has a... Not Watkins, sorry.
Watkins?
It's an American track, that's what happens.
Other side of the country.
Laguna has the special ability of just having sand absolutely everywhere when you're trying to go around, and so it makes your life extra difficult because you dip a tire somewhere and it just hoofs you off, and then your lap's gone. Especially in a race, that makes it even better. There we go. Timing screens are now online. Brilliant.
Hooray!
Now we can keep you updated on the pace.
So
We'll keep you updated.
Rocheleau comes out for his outlap, but very much behind these cars. It'll be interesting to see if he backs off before the end of the lap or tries to clear them. But obviously they're on their own laps, and any incidents caused by him will be penalised quite heavily post-race. He's following very close to the back end of Hoover there as well. He will need to drop off if he's going to do any sort of good lap here and try and beat Taylor if he can find it within himself. The Porsche should be relatively strong here. It's quite a strong GT4 car, would you not agree?
Someone who's driven the Porsche before, after making a swap to it, I would definitely say the Porsche is one of the stronger GT4s. It's just got that front end that you can actually trust to bite, especially in the rainy curve, say for instance on this track, where you got to really get the front end hooked in.
The rainy curve being turn 9, which is 2 corners before the final, turn 11, which Nathaniel just crossed or just came around to start his flying lap, his first flying lap, with 5 odd minutes, 5 and a bit minutes to go of GT4 qualifying. As we see Langevin up on his time, coming now up to the Cooper Tyres bridge, which occasionally becomes whatever other tyre company wants it as a bridge.
Depending on whoever is paying the most at that moment in time.
Or whoever's providing the tyres. Then we come up to the Mother's Bridge. For all your waxing and polishing purposes, other brands are available.
Just a heads up, the internal stream is still currently frozen.
I don't know why that is, but I think you will just have to try and keep an eye on what's going on.
Okey-dokey.
I shall try and sort that. As Hoover has it off, and he nearly takes out Nathaniel coming round over that. Let's have a look what happened here. Once Hoover gets back on the move, and I think he's just gone around again as I hit replay, he just seems to get a bit wide, go onto the grass, to the gravel,
It's that painful
sand,
problem. Yeah.
and almost rebounds into Nathaniel on his first flying lap.
He's gone to open up the corner heading into turn 7, or sorry, turn 6, and he's just caught it on the outside as he's going in.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of tram line pulled him off the track.
And that is a very easy thing to do on that corner. As Langevin crosses the line, he goes second, 7/10 up, I believe, on his best, with a 39.727, a 139.727. Still 2.5 seconds off of Lee Taylor's 137.397 time, showing the...
Still got a bit of pace to find. Sorry, James. On
yes.
Lee Taylor.
Shows the pure pace of the Alpine.
Although that does move Langevin to the top of the rest of the GT4 drivers, putting him in P2 currently.
Yes. As we see, Nathaniel has come back into the pits, is now on another outlap. He will have very little time to try and complete this lap and get 1, maybe 2 laps in if he is lucky. And if he can not put too many wheels into the sand like he just did there.
Fortunately, he has the benefit of being in the GT4 class, meaning that should he fail to set a valid lap, he will only be starting at the back of his class instead of, say, being a GT3 and then starting behind the entire GT4 class. So it will not be the end of the world for him. However, it is in his interest to try and set a fast lap.
I mean, that does depend on the fact that the GT3s can all be faster than GT4s. As he dips again, he just seems to be running a little bit wide on some of these corners. Thankfully, it's an outlap. Maybe he's trying for that iRacing strategy.
So Hoove is actually currently up on his delta. It looks like he's on a bit of a solid lap right now.
Yep, Hoove currently a 10th up on his best. And if he can stick with this and keep improving at the rate he is, almost up to 2/10 now, he will jump Langevin again to take second. But it looks like he's just lost it through turn 9 there. And doesn't seem to be regaining through turn 10, whilst Langevin continues to pick up time on his lap. Oh, as Hoove out the final corner, kicked up another 2/10. Maybe he's still on for a good lap. But there's clearly more time for him to find.
Hoove breaks the beam, still stays third fastest.
There is a good 700ths between him and Langevin at the moment. But he's already 2/10 up on his time. That good exit out of turn 11 has given him a fantastic run onto his next flying lap.
Feels like he's just carried the momentum off that final corner. He's just going to try and really push for this last lap. Oh, as he has a little bit of a moment heading out of turn 3.
So as we continue on, the last minute and a half of GT4 qualifying, Hoove remains up on his time by 10. Nathaniel, meanwhile, once again, I believe he's on his first flying lap. It does not give the delta properly. It'll be interesting to see what he can do if he can complete this lap.
We're nearing the end of GT4 quali now, so these drivers are really going to be pushing to get everything out on what is probably going to be their final laps.
As Nathaniel takes turn 10, the final little run, a very important corner coming up next, the final corner, which leads on to what is the largest and most important straight, I guess, of this circuit. He gets a bit wide on that exit, but this will be his, this will be his only banker lap that he's going to get.
And Hoove is currently looking like the fastest person on a lap at the moment.
Nathaniel does. Oh, Nathaniel on his first flying lap does a 1:39.990, 3/1000ths off of Angstman in 4th, putting him 5th at the moment and still at the back of those GT4 positions.
Meanwhile, Hoove managed to find a little bit of time on that last lap just to leapfrog himself over Langevin, giving himself just a 10th in hand.
Meanwhile, Lee Taylor up on his lap for what will be... This is going to be very close as to whether this is his last flying lap. He makes it. He might be able to do another, but I think he's pulling out of that, as GT3s will now come out of their pit boxes and come out of the pit lane to start their laps. Shall we have a look at all the rest of the GT4s, are still down on their time. Do not look to be improving on this last lap that they're going to get. Shall we have a look at a fun card?
I think we should.
Shall we have a look at fan favourite Thomas Jack driving what is one of the more interesting choices of car that anyone has ever driven, I think, in RP Series. The Writer Engineering REX.
The car known for its ability to do one thing and one thing only, and that is understeer.
I'm going to try and get this stream working now. Yeah, it still wants to be on that.
His final lap. We're expecting Angstman.
Cookie, you are dying on your microphone.
Am I?
A little bit.
Yeah, okay.
So, as all the GT4s, I believe, have... You sound good.
Thank you.
Might turn you back up a bit. As all the GT4s, I believe, except for Angstman, have come into the pits, although he's still 2 seconds off of his delta, and not likely to improve.
That is potential for a penalty at this point. He's strayed well beyond the limits of his qualifying session. And he is
He
now actually
definitely-
impeding Gary Rowe behind him, who is on a flying lap.
Yes, he has almost certainly ended his lap and should return to the pits. It looks like he is... I'm not quite sure what he's doing. It looked like he was pulling off to the side there, which he is, and will
It
return
looks
to
like
the
he
pits.
has received the message. Now we can continue with GT3 qualifying.
MC GT3, well, that's a very odd switch of pace, as the Bentley obviously having the right-hand drive compared to the left-hand drive of almost every other car on this track. This is the Bentley of S. Maudsley, the 117 car in the Pro Split. I do not believe he's the furthest car along, but he is one of the cars that are currently on a flying lap. What do you think about the Bentley's chances around here then, Cookie?
Bentley, it is nimble, considering how boat-like it looks. And its boat-like reputation may assist it in this particularly flooded track.
He'll be able to go sailing with the best of them.
It does suffer from quite significant power oversteer that will not be helping around a lot of these slow corners.
As we switch to GT3 qualifying as the first cars cross the line, Kai Sforza with a 131.887 goes fastest overall, followed by Maudsley with a 132.9. Ian Arnold takes the top spot with a 131, followed by Pierre Moreno quickly overtaking him with a 130. So have a look who else is on a lap, almost coming to the end. John Doe Germany in a 991 Porsche. Coming around the final corner now, Pierre Moreno continues to lead as other cars cross the line. Michael Randall going 6th with a 133.2.
John Doe Germany?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, John Doe Germany has just crossed the line to come 4th so far. Just about 2 seconds off the current pace.
As we see further down the grid, Battenberg appears to have had either a second out lap or a rough flying lap and has had to restart. Still down in 16th now as another car crosses the line.
And we've had a spin. We have had a spin.
We have had a spin. It's Marcel Schupp, who is back on track, almost going off again.
Just about hangs on to it as he gets it going.
Let's have a look if we can see what happened. No, we cannot, because I went slightly too close to the incident. Assuming there's many will on this track, he's just lost it going through this very wet track.
Good heads-up driving by him to see John Doe Germany coming up behind him and then kind of move himself out the way and not impede on someone else's hot lap.
As Battenberg continues to make his way around this first flying lap of his, or first valid lap.
Since John Doe Germany is almost half a second up right now, that impediment would have seriously put him off.
And Battenberg seen there having a few little possible internet issues which have already been seen, sadly, at Bathurst last time round. Hopefully he'll be able to stabilise during the race as he did then. As he comes up, Toby Long about to cross the line as well. Is this a valid lap from him? Yes, it is. We'll see where he is in a second as Battenberg goes second with that lap with a 131.5. Still a full second and 0.10 off of Moreno.
Up until that happened, Husky had made the astute observation that Tom in the Writer of all cars is the best of the non-Porsches. Quite an impressive feat, to be honest.
It is surprisingly impressive considering how reluctant he was to practice it as well.
Now, Kai Sforza actually is really moving, as it appears.
Let's have a look.
But he has just come to the end of his lap.
He has come to the end of his lap. He's gone second with 131.245 in that very nice, almost Benetton-looking paint scheme. As Ian Arnold takes second now with a 131.1. Another Porsche. Porsches are running extraordinarily well, as I believe has already been called attention to. They're probably the best runners at the moment in these conditions. Well, they are on track in qualifying, but they are probably going to be the best runners during the race as well, based on pure performance.
It's just that weight distribution that they give that really lends themselves to good braking distances. It just helps around this track a lot.
As Bongus is waiting in the pit lane to come out in the number 8 Lamborghini, setting off the yellow flags as he's letting other cars go by on their flying laps before coming out of the pits himself.
With that really, really nice Gulf Lambo livery.
It is a lovely looking livery, that. As well as taking off the SRO boards and putting some custom 8 balls on. As Robert Delisle gets a yellow flag. Not quite sure what that was. And he went into the dirt at turn 3 and almost collects a Porsche. I'm not sure who that was on the rejoin. That's not the safest way of doing that. Sorry, Cookie.
Oh, it is okay. It looks to have stagnated a little bit for now. Everybody is probably pushing the entries a little bit too hard, going for that extra time.
I think I've fixed the streaming issue in a very odd way, Cookie, but it should work.
I believe it to be working, yes. It's up to date, so that'll do.
Yes, instead of streaming you the actual race, and can someone take care of these bots in the chat? Husky, you are moderator.
Husky is driving, I think.
No, he's not.
Is he not? No, he's just chilling.
I've made him a moderator, he can clear them. That's a nice little solution to the Discord streaming problems, to just stream OBS to you instead of...
Works pretty good, I can at least see what you're looking at now.
As Pierre Moreno currently up on his time, although as we switch to him going very wide around turn 2 and losing all of that time. So let's cut to Battenberg, currently almost 6/10 up as he climbs towards the corkscrew on the Rahal Straight.
Right, literally pinging from track edge to track edge, picking up the time.
Comes down one of the most famous corners on the planet, I think. The corkscrew, turn 8 and turn 8A.
Just picking up the time as he goes.
Yep, currently 8/10 up on his previous best time for 1:31.5. He will, if he can maintain this, he will be second. If he can gain a little bit, he'll be up in first. As he has a moment, I think a little bit of internet connectivity again on his end. But he continues to be up on his time and goes second for 1:30.6.
It's beginning to become a bit more clear which cars are really punching up at the top of the qualifying. We've got Moreno laying down the line, constantly just sitting there in provisional P1, but Battenberg, he keeps just inching that time further and further and further.
I think it's interesting to see as well how the rain is shaking up, maybe not too much, but a little bit, the classes. With Ian Arnold currently as Silver and Kai Sforza, Silver drivers in their Porsches, sitting 4th and 5th, ahead of a number of pro drivers and well ahead of their fellow Silver drivers.
Now, it is nice to see that all of our GT3s have set a valid lap time, which means we'll get a nice class separation on the race start.
Yep, that's always, you do not want to see, or you not necessarily like to see, especially in these conditions, GT3 cars having to make overtaking moves on the race start against GT4s. That is a recipe for disaster. As we have a look at Bingus McBongus, currently 6/10 up on his time. Coming through the corkscrew now, down to turn 9. Turn 9, a rather tricky corner in and of itself.
I assume made much worse by the rain.
Certainly will be. It's easy enough a corner to spin on your own. In some of these cars, the rain will not help as Bongus gets impeded by Michael Randall.
No.
And there may be a ticket in after this race or after this session, as I believe Bongus is sitting now in 10th after being impeded out of the final corner by Michael Randall.
I'm not sure how much time that would have lost him, or if he was still significantly up, but that looked like a fairly significant impediment.
Kai Sforza, I believe, may have just had a moment at the corkscrew. Watching it back now, it's a little bit on the edge and has a little almost spin coming down
That
the
is a
hill.
very good save.
Yeah, that was a very, very nice to keep that together and keep going in the right direction.
In a rear-engine car going down a massive drop to stop it from just tipping around, especially when you're naturally easing back into the throttle for the exit. That's got to be some quick hands.
Yep, as we have a look at Gary Rowe coming up to that same corner in the Aston Martin GT3 V8 car. Takes it a little bit nicer than Kai did. Okay, around turn 9 now, currently 7 tenths up. He loses, he gets wiggly. I think that is the definition of wiggly, as the writer is yellow flagged, as he just stopped and gone back to pits. Yes, he has.
We have a contender coming in for second place with John Doe Germany. He has the final corner left. This will either make or break his lap.
As we see Gary go, and still 4 tenths up, but I believe that was invalidated. Let's go to John Doe Germany, coming up to the end of the lap. Stays third with a 130.8.
Inching himself that little bit closer to Battenberg.
Have a look now. Not many cars currently making too many gains, although Bingus Bongos has just jumped. Keeps jumping between about 500ths and 1.5 tenths on his time, but now currently back down 2 tenths off as the track continues to get slightly and slightly wetter.
Yes, the rain has pulled its almighty nature in, and it's decided that you will not be going faster. It's bringing the thunder, let's say.
As I believe Ian Arnold just pulled out a little yellow flag. Let's have a look at what that might have been. Up at turn 9. Yep, he just slides it, and again a nice save from a Porsche. I think that might have been assisted by the shape of the inside of that track there. That would have invalidated whatever lap he was on.
Amber just giving a little helping hand, bouncing him back out in the right direction.
As Toby Long in the another V8 Aston Martin, currently 4 tenths up on his time. So Gary Rowe just puts in 13, goes P13. And he just noticed that as he crossed the line, almost 8 tenths up on his previous time. So we continue to follow Toby Long as he comes just where Ian Arnold previously spun, or almost spun. Takes surprising amount of curb on the inside here.
That is the beauty of a heavy front engine car such as the Aston Martin.
It runs a little bit wide on the exit of the final corner, coming up to the start-finish line, and goes P11 with a 132.4.
All personal best sectors as well. He really pulled it out of the bag on the end.
The current pole sitter then, as qualifying is now over, is provisionally Pierre Moreno with a 130.235. As I am not sure if he's doing a lap here, as the Delta's telling me 0. Oh, he was. It's now corrected itself. He was sitting at the exact same lap time for a little bit there. And now he's currently 2 tenths up. Almost. He lost a little bit on the exit to corkscrew. So we see Sam Maudsley currently 2 tenths up on his time, down in 7th, or 131.9. He'll be looking to take the place from Schupp in 6th.
Oh, so Randall has come and said in the chat, sorry, I've not seen this earlier, his engine actually gave up on him. So either that's going to be an empty fuel tank or some serious heavy downshifting.
And heavy downshifting is not something that we are unfamiliar with in RP Series.
Every now and then a car's downshift protection will decide that it will let you do that thing that you shouldn't be doing.
Famously, Robin Moe at Misano had an engine blowout on the last lap, which is not what you want
Just a tragedy,
to
to be
have.
honest.
So there we have it. The order as we go into this race for GT3, Pierre Moreno, followed by Battenberg, John Doe Germany, Ian Arnold, Kai Sforza, Sherp, Maudsley, Randall, Jack, McBongus, Long, Delisle, Rowe, Gottlieb, Rutkowski, Gunkel, Taylor, Hoover, Langevin, Angstman, and Nathaniel Foltz Rochenau. Those last 5 being GT4 category cars. So what do you think for this race then? Who do you think is going to take it?
Well, the money's got to be on a Porsche, to be honest. We've got, or Porsche, sorry, as Ted Kravitz will happily discuss over and over and over how to say it.
Will
We've
he
got the
use
majority.
cheese?
Cheese to show the shape of the car. Yeah, we got 4 of the 5 Porsches, I believe, sitting in the top 5, which is pretty impressive. With just Battenberg being the sole non-Porsche, just disrupting that party a little bit. I put the money on Moreno, to be honest. He had the pace on everyone in qualifying, and he is a pretty consistent driver, especially in the rain where he knows how to slide that Porsche around.
No, yeah, it'd be very interesting, I think, to see what Battenberg can do against these Porsches, being the only current competitor with them. And of course, we still have a lot of interesting weather. And as the great Murray Walker used to say, anything can happen in motor racing. And it usually does.
Just when you expect something won't happen, it might. Murphy's Law being a key proponent of a lot of what happens in motor racing.
So let's have a quick look again at the GT4s. So the Alpine, almost naturally at this point, leading its class. The 84 Alpine, driven by Lee Taylor, who currently leads the GT4 Championship and has won every race except for one this season. It's every race that he's entered, at least. Hoover in the Audi in second, followed by 2 BMWs of Langevin and Angstman, and the Porsche in kind of a reverse fashion to the GT3 grid at the back of the GT4 category.
It is particularly impressive that those BMW drivers are able to get the car set up in a way that it will kind of turn the way they need it to around this track, which is especially based on the front end, given the M4's tendency to go straight. And we are nearing the race start time.
Yep, and as you can see on the weather bar up the top of the screen, it will get wetter as this session progresses. It's currently wet. It'll be interesting to see if we can get a flooded track at Laguna Seca of all places. As the leaders shall begin to pull away for the formation lap.
All the drivers will have done their last minute panic fuel checks and tire pressure checks and pit stops, making sure they have all the finer details right, as this ACC especially demands that you have the tire pressures pinpoint accurate.
I'd be interested to know how often, how many times the average, or how many times each individual driver closes and opens the setup window before hitting drive.
In kind of a panic moment to make sure you've got everything dialed in and you're not missing something.
I think in that 2-minute period, I can do it at least 60 times. Just to try and make sure that everything is done. As Battenberg, again, getting a little bit laggy there. A little bit of connectivity issue from him. I'm hoping that won't play a part in this race. Is he doing that for you as well, Cookie? I can't obviously see what you're seeing on the game side.
Battenberg is jumping around a little bit. I could see, he is indeed having quite severe lag.
Might want to give someone a notification about that before this race starts. But the race will start quite shortly, being a very short lap. As I think a lot of the cars behind Battenberg are also being backed up a little bit by his issues, which is unfortunate, causing Pierre to sort of run out a little bit in front. As Lucas Lichton just noticed or has noticed that Tom is running the right engineering car. Yes, he is. And I believe that was on essentially on a dare.
He's a bit of a mad lad.
Tom is our resident semi-alien. And unfortunately, having previously been competing in this series and having left it as he was due to return to his familial home, I believe, in France, unfortunately had to cancel due to issues with the airlines that I think people will understand and know about. So has instead decided to come and have some fun in a myriad of different and interesting cars for the rest of the season. He was driving very well the Aston Martin V12 at Bathurst, where it is a good car to run, and now he's driving the Reiter, which is a bad car to run almost anywhere.
Cars bring their Noah's Ark formation around the final corner, giving it a little bit of a stretch like a slinky as they all pull out the final corner and get ready for the race start. With Battenberg being quite significantly ahead of Pierre Moreno.
Yes, I'm surprised there was no... I don't see a penalty as of yet given by the game, as Moreno gets off a bit slowly as well. Battenberg appearing to be taking the lead.
I think it's safe to say he just got a good jump on Moreno.
As we see, someone goes wide back there. I believe that was Kai Corsa. Michael Randall.
As Schupper heads off the track at turn 3.
Yeah, that would not be very nice for him.
Everywhere.
See Kai Forza continuing to pressure now onto Thomas Jack. Have a look back at the top of the grid as Pierre Moreno tries to make a move on Battenberg for the race lead. Pulls out of it before the corkscrew, before the turn 4 or turn 5 onto the Rahal straight.
I think he's going to get him, you know. Battenberg hit the sand just a little bit.
Making a move into the corkscrew. I'm surprised we're seeing this early on as Battenberg holds on, and I think there was a little bit of contact there. But Pierre takes that place.
John Doe Germany just having a little opportunistic look
as
at
Michael
Battenberg.
Randall is round. Let's have a look what happened here. Going down the corkscrew, stuck behind that Reiter. And he comes. I think he just drops it. He just drops it. Goes wide. Maybe touches the curb a little bit and is round and down to 12th position. So you see,
Battenberg hasn't given up the chase.
As there is another car off, Delisle, I believe there was a coming together there. Let's see what happened here. As they come into the final corner, the GT4 cars. Oh, he just gets tapped on the rear by, I believe that's Nathaniel False-Rochelau, and some GT3s continue to try and make their way through, who got put a little bit down that first lap. That is unfortunate. He'll have to try and make his way back up.
The GT4 just unfortunately getting a little bit in over their head, misjudging how wet the track is. Kind of arriving at the apex that little bit too fast.
As we see Langevin attempting to make his way onto the back of Hoove in the Audi. Cars seem to be spreading out a little bit now as we get into the second lap of this race.
But the fight for the lead is still very much on, with Battenberg fighting back against Moreno.
Let's have a look on board, or look at the camera with him. As they come around turn 9, the rainy curve. He's going to be trying to hold on to the back of the Porsche and try and make a move, I'd assume, on the main straight. Maybe taking advantage of that Porsche's lack of speed. Obviously in this weather it's hard to know exactly how much that's going to affect them. As we have Gottlieb off into the gravel. Let's have a look what happened here. Coming around turn 9. And he just gets loose on the exit and just can't really save the car.
He didn't trust the car on the turn in through turn 9. Then as he kind of dropped off that AstroTurf, it kind of put a bit of yaw in the car. And especially with the rain at the moment, that is not really what you want.
As we see Michael Randall trying to make his way back up after that moment at turn 9 on lap 1. With Rakowski ahead of him in the Bentley, the 77 Bentley. Currently 3 tenths away. He'll be seeking to recover what he has lost. Hopefully won't push too hard and try and do it as he gets loose again on what I believe is the exit to turn 5 there. And that's compromised him as he's off into the gravel. That's going to slow him down, and he's going to be caught possibly by Schupp before the corkscrew. I think he is, but Schupp seems to be backing out a little bit. No, Schupp backed out before the corner came up.
As Moreno has just stretched his advantage over Battenberg now over to more than a second. So he's making good headway.
Something's happened to Gottlieb. Let's have a look at what happened there. Coming down, he just loses it at the corkscrew. Goes deep, I think has avoided contact there. Very lucky to do so.
I think it's similar to what we saw in qualifying with Kai, how the car just tips over on the left-hand part of corkscrew.
And this is definitely making things interesting, as now there are only 2 GT4s with track position against each other. Now make that 2 pairs, as there are 3, well there are now 2, and now there's 3 again. GT3 cars trying to make their way up through the GT4 pack. As Lee Taylor being out in front of his class, with Gottlieb again trying to make his way back up behind. Let's see Kai Sforza in the beautiful, once again, Benetton sort of coloured Porsche. Team Sforza chasing down Sam Maudsley in the 117 Bentley.
He had a lot of faith in his brakes heading in behind Maudsley there. Chose to brake on the same line as the car in front and just hit the brakes screeching as you head in towards corkscrew, hoping that you can get it turned and slowed down.
As I believe Gottlieb has once again gotten past Taylor and is now back in the main GT3 pack. And Pierre Moreno continuing to sit only about 9/10 up on Battenberg behind. He's not gaining an advantage that perhaps we originally thought that he would. As Kai looks perhaps to try and make a move as soon as he can.
Lucas asks if we could have the standings sort of show overall so that the GT4 standings are also visible.
My apologies, there we are. I think that's it. I believe something happened to Battenberg there as we were discussing it. Yet he was off at what appears to be turn 3. I'm not quite sure what happened to him there.
And that will release some pressure from Moreno now to go and make some headway in this race.
Yeah, Moreno now sits 3.2 seconds, or 3.1 now seconds, in front of John Doe Germany in second.
And it looks like Kai will be a little bit closer to Maudsley this time, heading up into corkscrew.
You can see the spray coming off the back of these cars. It's only going to get worse as it gets wetter. As they come through turn 9, you can just see that massive rear end of that Bentley. I believe Schupp just got ahead of Rotowski.
And Trainer said in the chat that his wheel is just absolutely throwing in the towel right now. The buttons were freaking out and the starter was pushing itself on and off, which was really messing with his engine.
That is unfortunate, but once again, that is the closest thing we ever get to a technical failure in sim racing.
As we have Mo in the pits.
Mo has come in.
Mo has been able to finally join in the race, knowing that he would have a bit of a late start. So he'll be serving his control lock penalty, and then I'm sure he'll be getting out there and joining in the fun.
It'll be interesting to see how he can maybe try and unlap himself, but I mean, he is one of the quicker drivers on this grid.
As John Doe Germany has had an error. He's had a little off, I think, coming out of turn 4.
Let's have a look at. So, yes, he gets onto the ground, the sand on the exit there, and just slows him down a little bit. They come up to turn 5, trying to make his way around the outside of a fellow Porsche, just doesn't make it. That fellow Porsche being Oh no, sorry, that was Kai Forza. John Doe Germany was the guy who was trying to take. Looks like all of the Porsches having a little bit of trouble in these wet conditions, except for Pierre Moreno out front. Oh, as John Doe Germany goes off into the gravel, again, the sand, whatever it is, and Kai Forza gets through into 4th position. Hoover in GT4 currently having a fantastic little battle with Nathaniel Foltz-Rochadel. Nathaniel is going to try and get up into the Rahal straight.
That's who just defends the inside there, making sure to not give any possibility for a move up the inside.
We do like a nice little bit of GT4 racing. There aren't too many GT4s in this race, so it's nice to see that they can race as Hoove goes extremely deep into the corkscrew, and Nathaniel takes that position from him. As Gunkel is off and hits the wall. What happened here? Coming up to the corkscrew. Gunkel just gets loose and, yep, ends up in the wall on the left-hand side of the corkscrew exit.
So we have a heck of a fight starting to emerge for P5 back. Tom trying with all his might in that Reiter engineering to get it to turn the way he wants. And slow the way he wants and go the way he wants, because that car, unfortunately, will not do anything that you want it to do.
As Kai Forza, there's been a contact between Kai Forza and Toby Long. Let's have a look at what happened here. So Kai goes wide on this exit, gets onto the gravel, trying to collect the car, hits the tyre barrier. And on the rejoin, Toby just cuts across his nose. I don't quite know where Toby expected Kai to go there. As Battenberg is also round. Oh, look here. Following the back of that Reiter engineering car. He's dropping the order, now down to 10th. He gets, oof. Tries to recover it, and it just sends him round facing the wrong direction right outside the pit entry. So I think that battle for 5th ended almost as soon as we looked at it. But thankfully there's a battle for 3rd, or for 2nd even actually, going on. But it's in GT4. As you see, Nathaniel Foltz-Rochadel in the number 142 Porsche, followed by Brad Hoover, followed by Morten Anksman.
So Rochadel has a spin. He's dipped it coming in through turn 9.
Yeah, he just got loose on the exit there, on the entry/exit, and that's let Anksman through, continuing to fight with Hoover, as Schupp has also gone off into the gravel, I believe, on the exit of the corkscrew.
It does look like these weather conditions are playing into making it a little bit more difficult
Never mind, I'm not quite sure what corner that is right there. Oh, I see, it's turn 3. He's just lost it around. As Thomas Jack is fighting John Doe Germany for 4th. The Reiter engineering car is putting up a fight. Cannot see a thing through this windshield. What do you think? What do you think the chances are of Tom winning this race in that Reiter?
Knowing his luck and his speed, there is some outward chance that all the other cars explode and not finish the race, and he somehow drags the Reiter into 1st place for the win.
I mean, it's impressive enough that he's currently sitting in 5th in that thing, and fighting for position with what, as has already been said, is an extraordinarily dominant car on this track in these conditions, the Porsche.
It should be noted that John Doe Germany is, as per usual, driving, I think, the old Porsche before the 2019 update that improved the rear diffuser space.
Yes, he is. He's driving the 991 GT3R, not the 9912 GT3R.
The one that was notoriously difficult to set up and was kind of like the 2017 Mercedes F1 car, say how it was a setup diva. Such is the predicament John Doe Germany finds himself in with trying to get that car to behave the way he wants on setup.
But John Doe Germany is pulling away a little bit from Thomas Jack, as Bingus for Bongos, you can see, gains on him in a, well, let's be honest, it's a fellow Lamborghini, as the Reiter is just a dressed up Lamborghini. So it's the race of the Well, I don't know, what is the Lamborghini? A Raging Bull or something? Raging Bulls, let's go with that.
As Hoove is now getting very, very eager on the back of Angstman. He's had two little looks now on the
Yep,
inside,
he's having
and
a look up the inside here. He's just not ahead enough to make it.
I imagine that was more of a safety look at that point to just get the car outside of the spray and see his braking markers.
This will be interesting. I mean, the GT4s, thankfully for the drivers, do not put up as much spray as their GT3 counterpart. There's still quite a significant amount of rainfall. And it's only getting worse.
As we have kind of a large train heading through turn 6 now up towards Corkscrew.
As Battenberg fighting with Gary Rowe for 9th. And he's up the inside as Gary Rowe goes round. And at the same time, Kai Sforza is also off and spinning himself up at turn 4. I do not believe that there was contact there. I believe that he just lost it. It looks like he did. He just dipped his left-hand wheels onto the sand and just went round, allowing Battenberg to take the position. As Battenberg also gets past Sforza after his trip into the gravel up at turn 4.
As the GT4 trolley train continues down towards turn 1. We have our leader Pierre Moreno actually gaining on this train heading through turn 1.
Well,
Let's see how we navigate
interesting. As Tino Gunkel, going a bit slowly, letting Pierre Moreno by there, is actually currently sitting behind the top 4 GT4 cars. So he is going to have to not just get past his GT4s, but get past them 4th position, as he's about to be taken, I think, by the final remaining GT4, as he dips into the sand there and gets taken by Robin Moe for good measure. Robin obviously several laps down, 6 laps down on the next car, having started this race slightly late, as Gunkel goes off into the sand up at turn 5, and he's just not having a good time of it these last few laps.
Let's just see how his rejoin is.
Yeah, let's have a look then.
As he waits and does
quite,
a good, safe rejoin.
As we get back onto Volks Rochelau, who's continuing to chase down Hoover, as Angstman has gotten quite a bit away from him. Robin Moe trying to get past these slower GT4 cars in that pink Honda NSX. I think it's an NSX, isn't it?
Yes, he's also driving one of the death machines. Hoove actually this time around getting the braking pretty much spot on for Corkscrew, making sure to keep it on the track heading through the downhill left.
But Hoove has had to sacrifice a bit of speed to try and let Robin get past him, and now has Nathaniel right on his rear as they go up through into the start-finish line.
Let's see if he defends the inside on the way into turn 1.
No, and that's Nathaniel past, but he's gone deep, massively deep. I thought that when he tried to make the move, and Nathaniel drops down behind Hoove and behind Langevin. He's now at the back after that failed move of the GT4 grid.
A reverse 2-for-1 special, if I may say.
As these cars, I'm going to have to go to Helicam because there are a large mix of GT4 cars being lapped by a massive GT3 pack there. As I believe Langevin flashes Ian Arnold in some form of displeasure. As Kai Sforza has pitted, possibly to deal with some issues he's been having. Maybe with tyre pressure is obviously a big part of this race, and there could be some cars finding their tyres not quite up to pressure for this weather. As Maudsley brings out a yellow flag, gets passed by Toby Long. So we'll look if anything happened there. Yep, he just appeared to go off just before the before turn 5. Oof, almost gets collected by Battenberg. And Long just gets ahead.
Now, for the chat, I wouldn't be opposed to one of the drivers drinking before one of the races. It's whether they can drive sufficiently safely when they've had a few. It's always a consideration I have before when we have one of the races. It's like, what are the evening plans? Is there anything involving sim racing? Okay, we'll stick with the Diet Cokes.
Oh, as Maudsley trying to recover his position and does so on Toby Long, as Toby moves to try and take
That
the
was
line for
quite
the
the
corner.
fend.
I saw the gap opening, and I think the red mist might have slightly descended after that moment and caused him to lose that position.
As now the Lambo fight, well, we say Lambo fight in inverted commas, the Lambo and newer Lambo fight starts.
You can see that Reiter car just through the spray.
You can hear the traction control from a lot of these cars really kicking in.
Oh, as they come up to the back of the GT4, I believe that is that Langevin,
That
one of
is.
the BMWs. That puts that car, as Tom gets a little bit slower on that exit.
It's kind of difficult to tell if the very aggressive traction control cut that you can hear is coming from the Reiter or from the M4. Both notoriously not having the best electronics.
Bonga's still 0.8 behind Thomas Jack. Toby Long continues to try and recover that position he recently gained and then recently lost from Sam Maudsley in the Bentley.
Obviously would like to get up close with Maudsley's car and have a polite conversation about how dive bombing is not nice.
As they come through the corkscrew. I mean, I wouldn't personally, I don't know, I wouldn't have called it a dive bomb. It looked like he just saw the gap and went for it, which as we know makes you a racing driver.
That is the primary and only requirement
Let's just
for
ignore
being a professional racing driver.
Let's just ignore everything that happened around those words being uttered. Oh, as he gets what looks like a nice exit, Toby. As they pass what looks to be a back marker BMW.
They are indeed, they are passing
I think that is
Gunkel again.
Gunkel, yes.
And
Still.
it looks like Bongas passing through the field has just allowed Hoove to creep back up again onto the back of Angstman.
Who will be very happy about that, trying to stay in the position, as the other remaining fight happening is between Robert Delisle and Denny, that's his name, Rakowski, as Delisle makes a move into turn 1. Can he make it stick? Will Rakowski try and stick to the outside? No. Gonna try and pull that back though.
As we have had an off, Mo has had a little bit of a moment coming through turn 9. He's managed to safely rejoin once the track cleared.
Yep, there he is, coming back onto track there. Done well. Battenberg also off, up at the corkscrew. A place where I expect to see many, many more incidents as this race goes on.
I think it's safe to say the words death machine do ring true for the NSX, considering how we've seen both of them spun in a very short space of time.
I'm quite glad. I don't know about you, I'm quite glad I'm not driving this track in these conditions.
Yes, definitely.
As Maudsley pulls into the pits and gets passed by Toby Long. About 7 minutes before the halfway mark of the race, Maudsley has, for one reason or another, decided to take an early pit stop.
Along with himself and Kai, they are the only 2 drivers in the pits at the moment. Kai looking to have done a damage stop with about 13 seconds of damage on his car that he had to fix.
So you see Brad Hoover actually get ahead. Yes, he must have got ahead of Angstman. And taken 16th or second in class for the GT4s. Lee Taylor, meanwhile, is just simply having a nice drive in that Alpine.
Gap up to about 9 seconds from the next GT4. Oh, sorry, not even the next
That's
GT4.
the next GT3.
That's from a GT3.
Yep,
from
so
Kai with his damaged Porsche.
Lee Taylor sits ahead of Kai Sforza in 15th, with the rest of GT4s sitting Brad Hoover 16th, 17th Marcus Angstman, Morten Angstman even, and 18th Jeffrey Langevin. We have lost a GT4 from this race.
As Maudsley has now finally managed to exit the pits, it looks like he also must have served some kind of damage stop.
Yep, as Angstman continues to try and come back on Hoove for second place in GT4.
The gap's now kind of starting to open up. This is this middle phase of the race where people are really starting to find their feet, but that's going to get jumbled up again pretty soon once the pit stops start.
I think this is how this race is kind of going to go. It's going to be a lot of gaps that are going to be very quickly brought down by offs and spins.
Yes, exactly.
And then quickly increase again and once again be brought down.
We've got a wet track, which makes it a lot harder, coupled with the track with very little kind of safety runoff. Like, let's say it's Spa recently with the Spa 24 hours. A lot of the corners, they may have a bit of gravel, but then they'll have safety tarmac for you to gather your car back up again. Laguna is a little bit harsher on you, let's put it that way.
As
You go off and you're off.
As Toby Long laps Angstman and about to lap Hoove, perhaps in a less opportune position for Hoove. Goes a bit wide. If anything, blocking Angstman off more than he is hampering Hoove.
It does look like he was setting himself up for a cutback just to get that exit speed before turn 6.
As he gets past Hoove and Angstman now, hoping that Hoove would have been slowed down by that. Now 0.6 between them. They come down the corkscrew. The 495 BMW wanting that position more than anything in the world. As there are some yellow flags. Right, Kowski and Toby Long, having just made those back marker passes, is off down at what looks to be around turn 9. Still sitting nicely in 7th, but Gary Rowe is now closing up on him quite quickly. As it looks like Kai Sforza is also about to try and unlap himself, and he does so from the, well, not unlap himself, but overtake the first runner in the GT4 pack of Lee Taylor. As Gottlieb pits, Justin Gottlieb takes the box.
He does indeed.
And
Let's see
Robert
how he
Blau gets
fares.
past.
So it looks like he is heading for some kind of an undercut strategy. Now, it's very interesting. What do you think is going to happen with strategy for this race, considering that we are running pretty much wet tyres all the way through?
I think the biggest challenge to these drivers right now is to see that increasing rain and judge what pressure they're going to want to have in those tyres at the end of this race.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'd agree. The pressures are... They tend to be a bit of a fuss.
It shouldn't be as bad as if it was decreasing, but it will not be fun for them to try and make sure their tyres aren't too cold.
So Gottlieb is the first car to head in for a normal kind of scheduled planned stop. And he is now out of the pit lane, back on the racing surface.
Yep, as John Doe Germany currently gaining on Ian Arnold for 2nd position. As Arnold is trying to pass, I believe that is Lee Taylor, the leader of the GT4 pack. And John is going to get stuck slightly behind him. But hopefully for him, we'll be trying to make this move. And does so into turn 6. As Toby Long and Gary Lowe both pit together. Effectively, teammates and Kai Sforza is round at the corkscrew. That was not a nice position, but could have been a lot worse with all those cars coming through.
It looks like Gary was just a little bit braver on the brakes into the pit lane, as they appear to have stopped and lifted up at the same time on the jacks.
As John Doe Germany is right on the rear end, as Ian Arnold pulls into the pits.
As it is a race out of the box, and Gary has beat Toby off the jacks. Looks like Toby, however, is fixing damage for this stop.
Yeah, you can see him in the background there as John Doe Germany takes 2nd place, as Ian Arnold has pitted now. Be interesting to see if Ian Arnold can pull off an undercut on Mr. Germany. Back in GT4, Jay Langevin is within a second of Angstman, the 2 BMW GT4 cars fighting once again for position.
I was fighting the front end around the track.
Oh, as Gary Rowe gets a yellow flag, but I believe that was a pit release yellow flag. Oh, he gets very close to the end as Morten Angstman gets and dives into the pits. It's going to be interesting to see again as all these cars battling each other. The lead car seemingly constantly diving into the pit.
Subnight has completed his stop.
As Rakowski takes the exit after his, what must have been his stop.
So we will try and take note and see if the undercuts have worked for any of these drivers.
Well, Ian Arnold comes out of the pits in 7th place. I'll have to wait for John Doe Germany, and John Doe Germany stays out. Does not pit this lap, so he's going slightly long in his first stint.
I imagine he will be trying to run for lack of traffic laps, try and build up a good pace, and then he can have a fast in lap and retain the position.
That's Toby Long on Gary Rowe now. Gary dives into pits again. Okay, that yellow flag I thought was a pit release must have been something that maybe caused damage, as Gary Rowe is now I think the only car in this race to have pitted twice.
Just checking if he did not get himself a penalty for speeding, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
No, that would have come up on our timing screen.
I believe I have just panned over to his car and spoken to his pit crew. They've made the mistake of giving him dry tires for this run.
That is I don't think that's quite that's a very bold strategy, I think, with these conditions.
Let's see if it pays off.
Well, I think they decided it hasn't. I actually did that when in practice myself. I had dry tyres on, did not realise it.
That would explain the haste with which he dove back into the pit lane.
As John Doe Germany continues to stay out. He stayed out again. No, sorry, he's on a different corner to what I thought he was, and he dives in.
Okay, so he has decided he is finally going to oh, and just to make matters worse for Gary, he has unfortunately managed to get a speeding penalty for that pit entry.
That is unfortunate. It's a stop-go 30, so some significant speed there.
I imagine the dry tyres not helping with the braking for the pit entry line.
If we have a look now at Ian Arnold, as John Doe Germany has pitted. Thomas Jack Bingers McBongus up through second and third, still to pit.
Our GT4 leader has also entered the pit lane for his scheduled stop.
I believe, however, our GT4 leader has enough gap behind him.
That will not be an issue.
Be pretty comfortable with his stop. As John Doe Germany still in the box. He comes out of it now, coming to the end of the pit lane. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out relative to Ian Arnold. His time stop was 32 seconds, as was Ian Arnold's.
They ran pretty much identical pit stops.
He has 1 second quicker than Ian Arnold through that pit stop, 101 compared to 102. As Toby Long has a yellow flag, but I want to stay with this quickly. Toby Long now down to 12th. I believe John Doe Germany has come out well ahead of Ian Arnold.
That cut with the pit lane allows you to do through the Andretti hairpin, serving him well there.
Have a look at Toby Long. Not quite sure what happened to him as we were watching two of the front-running cars having their stops compared. Should be noted, however, that Ian Arnold and John Doe Germany are in different classes, so their race isn't really with each other.
Yes, that's kind of up to them whether they want to deal with the pride of getting a on-track position or if they want to focus on their own class race. As all of the top four have now entered the pits for their scheduled stop.
Battenberg, Thomas Jack, Bongus, and Moreno all into the pits at one.
Moreno just leaving his box, having served his pit stop.
I think they might be about to... A lot of these cars are going to lose out to John Doe Germany. Pierre Moreno out of the pits with a commanding lead ahead of the next car.
It'll be interesting to see if Tom's had a little mistake on his in-lap there, because it looked like he was in second place following Moreno before they pitted.
As it looks like Gunkel has gone round at the notorious corkscrew. So, Cookie, I've always wondered, how tall is the corkscrew?
Well, Gunkel probably if he was in the real car, he would have felt it with, you know, the drop from the left-hand part of corkscrew all the way down the right, where you wave to the trees you go past, being almost 5.5 stories. Like, it doesn't feel like it when you're in a sim. The elevation feels a lot flatter, but in real life, I imagine you kind of feel like you're falling down this mountain as you go over the crest.
I imagine so, as Thomas Jack and Battenberg are going to be racing on the exit. Very close to each other on that exit, been spread out a little bit by the pit exit itself as the speed limiter falls away. Within 1.4 seconds, Thomas Jack in 6th with Battenberg in 5th. At the moment, your leader of the race still, after the pit stops have been served with, I think, 3 exceptions for Ian Moreno.
We now wait to see.
Moreno trying to get past a GT4 and a GT3 back marker. I believe that is Toby Long and I believe that is Angsman.
That is true, Lucas. Yeah.
Oh, as that was an interesting little swerve there from Darkin. I thought he might have hit the wall there. He dips into the gravel. Pierre not having the best laps following his pit stop, possibly struggling with getting those tyres up to pressure and to the right pressure for these conditions.
Maybe having made an adjustment that he felt would have improved the grip, but having gone the other way, the car just getting away from him a little bit.
I mean, obviously you want to, you probably have these pressures at 27, 28 psi, which might not feel like much, but compared to the pressures that you want for these conditions, and he goes off. He is off at turn 6.
Is there contact?
No, I do not believe there was. We can watch it back. He's trying to get around Hoove. I do not believe there was contact there. He just loses it, trying to get back in front and take the corner as he wants to. And that's certainly going to pull him into the clutches a little bit more of Jondo Germany.
Maybe just starting to show a couple cracks at the face of pressure. Although and he gets saved by Jondo Germany, just having an unfortunately timed meeting with a sausage curb.
Yep, as Jondo Germany also getting past a backmarker GT4 of, I believe that is Langevin. 7.9 seconds between the race leader and second place at the moment.
As Gunkel heads in for his second pit stop of the race.
Yep, Gunkel in the BMW M4 just dropped out of his box, but does not seem to be going. Not sure whether that's a client-side bug or whether he's just sitting there. As there are no tight battles at the moment, just a lot of back marker passing.
As I look through and check with all the pit crews, everybody now does appear to be on wet tyres.
That is actually Gunkel's first stop.
Is it?
Or unless he pitted for damage and not tyres, because he had one stop remaining on the timing tower as he now leaves the pit lane.
I believe he must have done a damage stop earlier in the race.
Robin Moe, meanwhile, yet to pit, but obviously having joined late. Doesn't really have much to lose, and will want to run longer to see what he can do towards it.
I expect he's here for the fun of racing.
Oh, the fun of racing.
Which is why we do it, really. But, yes. What's impressive to me is how pretty much all of the top 5 nailed their pit stops with the same stop time of 32 seconds, you know, accounting for turning the engine off and on again.
Yep, and that means that none of them had, well, except for one actually, Bongus, 33 seconds. Maybe a little bit slow on the draw there from Bingus, but Bongus in 4th. But that means they had no damage, no repairs to do, just fuel and tyres.
Or they chose not to fix the damage, braving out the rain. The fact that it kind of serves as the great leveler. Although in this case, it feels like the Porsches may be getting a little bit of a helping hand from the rain.
So let's take a look then at the moment at some of the statistics. The current highest gainer of this race, Bingus McBongus, having made up 6th places, starting in 10th, now up to 4th in the number 8 Lamborghini. It's quite impressive. Meanwhile, Gary Rowe has lost 5 places, having started 13th, now down in 18th, behind all of the remaining GT4s.
Well, I expect a great deal of that will probably be down to the pit stop kerfuffle that he had to deal with.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't help, as Hoove goes deep into the corkscrew, but manages to not collect up Ian Arnold, who gets past the GT4 backmarker.
It looks like this GT4 M4 battle is beginning to just bubble up a little bit once again, as Langevin pulls back up to the rear of Angstman.
What I think is interesting to see, actually looking at the statistics, is that the Porsches all have a speed trap. Porsche GT3s, that is, all have a speed trap of 220 km per hour, except for John Doe Germany, who has 223.
It may be down just to the difference in car, as Pierre Moreno has had an off.
Let's have a look what happened here. Coming through turn 3, he just loses the car again and gets spun round. Thankfully, not too difficult to come back onto the track, but again, that's just going to play into the hands of John Doe Germany, who's now 1.7 seconds behind.
And gaining.
And gaining indeed. As Gottlieb is off. Up at turn 6, which is right ahead of where Pierre Moreno and John Doe Germany are also coming up to. Thankfully, a little bit further down the road.
Although it does look like Pierre has managed to just kind of pick himself back up, get everything back together rather quickly, and just get the gap up to a safe distance for himself again, as opposed to falling further and further back into John Doe Germany's clutches.
As we see Langevin against Angstman in GT4 as they get passed by Bingus McBongus and now trying to get passed by Battenberg. Playing into the hands of the GT4 battle as Battenberg gets stuck a little bit.
I almost thought he was going to take it 3 wide there going into corkscrew.
That was very reminiscent of an incident at last round in Bathurst, as the GT3 car kind of gets blocked off a little bit by the 2 GT4 cars. They continue this battle through to the final corner. Battle of the BMWs, both with the same livery paint scheme. I'm not sure if there are multiple livery schemes for that, but well, not paint schemes, the same livery pattern.
It's just the coolest one for it, really.
We do have some very nice liveries, both in-game customs and properly made liveries in this this series. Oh, as that is Angstman going wide, and Langevin takes that place 3rd in class for GT4.
He'll be keen to keep that and kind of drive away from Angstman now, kind of consolidate this gain, and then he can not relax, because relax is the wrong word when it comes to driving a racing car, but defocus on the battle at hand and kind of move forward again.
Yep, as Thomas Jack in the Reiter Engineering splits the 2 GT4s, trying himself to gain on Battenberg ahead. I am wondering how he is coping with that car.
Quite entertaining if you go on board with Thomas Jack. You can see just how much more ancient the technology is compared to some of the modern GT3 cars by the fact that it has an actual steering wheel.
It has an actual steering wheel and what looks to be an LCD display. As Angstman gets a drive-through, assumedly for track limits, as he has not pitted. Oh, he has pitted, but not recently.
And that'll be down to track limits, maybe just going wide just a few too many times at a few too many corners.
It's quite surprising because I believe it's a bit more lenient in the wet, but he must have cut just enough to get him that penalty.
That'll be quite a blow for Angstman, I think, considering he just made that move.
It certainly will be, but that has allowed Gary Rowe to get back up ahead of a GT4. As Pierre Moreno gets taken by John Doe Germany. I wonder what happened here. Pierre goes wide at turn 6. So does John Doe Germany, but not quite as wide. And just managed to get ahead before the corkscrew.
I imagine that ate up some of his exit speed and left him vulnerable on the straight, heading up into corkscrew.
Almost certainly. I'm impressed they're still continuing to fight, though.
Especially considering they are both having to go round the outside of the back rocket.
As Justin Gottlieb spins, and we see that he's bringing it round quite nicely, as we can see in the background there. As these two leaders continue to battle it out.
He must have just dropped the rear left on that sausage curb on the inside, and it just hooked as soon as the traction control turned off again.
So we continue this fight for the lead of this race, 0.4 to 0.7 seconds in it between them.
The chat is having a spirited discussion about VTubers.
Well, that's nice.
Earthquake having a revelation.
Of course it is, because Lucas Lichten's here, who famously drove a VTuber livery at Watkins Glen for the 6 hours.
Whilst running his own VTuber stream, I might add.
Yes, and
might be quite difficult in a 6-hour race with a VR headset on, so that is commendable in itself.
Yep. And he won the race in the GT4 category. Driving the solo in the Maserati, which I think very glad Maserati drivers that they are not taking part in this race, if we have any at all, as I cannot imagine driving the Maserati around here for even 1 hour.
It would be any kind of fun.
It would be interesting, that's one thing to say for it. Pierre Moreno continues to try and take back the lead of this race from John Doe Germany.
And you can hear the traction control just triggering in from John Doe Germany's car.
As Battenberg, meanwhile, on the back of the Lamborghini of Bingus McBongus, battle for 4th. Although, technically, this is actually the battle for podium in class, as Ian Arnold running 3rd is silver. Meanwhile, these two drivers are pro.
And Moreno thought for just 1 second that he could go around the outside there, but he is going to go try a cutback, heading through turn 3.
He might have he's going to have the inside line for turn 4. And he gets ahead, but for how long? I think he has made that move stick, and barring any incidents, which, as we have seen in this race, is not necessarily an unexpected thing to happen, he has taken back the lead of this race from John Doe Germany.
As Battenberg has also managed to slip his way past Bingus Bongus on the same lap.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. We have a look.
My precious.
We go too far back, sadly, to see. Let's see.
He must have been very tucked up behind Bongus as he set a new speed trap record that lap down the main straight of 225 kilometers an hour.
225 in the Honda, and that is our fastest. Yes, fastest, like you say, speed trap. I'm still interested to see what John Doe Germany has done perhaps differently with that setup, or whether what factors were in play to have him 3 kilometers an hour quicker than any other Porsche on track at the moment.
Especially considering how high the wing on the older Porsche sits.
That is true, he is in a different Porsche, I keep forgetting that. And that probably explains why he is that little bit quicker.
And this battle from early in the race between Kai and Maudsley has once again just decided to start up.
Let's follow this quickly whilst this is going on. The Porsche versus the Bentley. I do enjoy the colour scheme on Kai's Porsche here. I don't know about you.
Oh, did you say the Benetton S1?
Yes. Oh, as Maudsley goes wide, giving Kai the run up the inside on the straight. However, it's going to now be down to the Bentley to try and get that power.
Oh, you could see Kai just wanting to move over and close the door.
He doesn't do so, and he stays ahead. Goes deep, though, into turn 2. And back into 8th position for Kai for the moment.
Maudsley just had that supreme confidence to get on the throttle pedal coming out of the Andretti hairpin and really drive it through and block off the exit.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing I think about this race is the Porsches might be dominant, but at the same time, as Pierre Moreno actually has an incident taking him back, coming out of the corkscrew, coming up to turn 9, just loses the car again. Snaps, yes, he tries to save it and it snaps the other way.
I think unfortunately a similar thing has happened to Gottlieb heading through corkscrew. The car just once again tipping.
As Bongus on the exit of corkscrew slams face first into the right-hand wall.
Losing him 1 position to Thomas Jack.
Oh, and he's around again. He's going to want to just get back cautiously on that pedal. Oh, I'm wondering if he's going to have to pit there, as he's now down to 8th as Kai and Maudsley both get past. That is unfortunate for the Lamborghini.
That battle that Kai and Maudsley were having all of a sudden becomes much more important as they gain an extra spot out of it.
Reminder though that again, Kai and Maudsley are actually not in the same class. And
although it is. Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say, so Kai is currently 2nd in silver, although battling, obviously, for the importance of a race result.
It is in his best interest to try and clear Maudsley and move forwards, considering the pace that Subna is showing up in P3 in a silver car. As in, there's still a chance for silver position gain by heading forwards in the field.
As Kai steps into the sand on the left-hand side, coming up to turn 5. That'll play into Bongus' hands a little bit. Sorry, Cookie.
Oh no, I imagine a pretty terrifying moment for him with the way that the track cambers down and it wants to rip you to the left into the sand.
This is what I was kind of saying before Pierre had his spin and the successive spins that happened to Gottlieb and to McBongus, is the Porsche, whilst being dominant here at the same time, is a car that I personally find, and I'm sure a lot of people do find, even those who drive it regularly, is not the easiest car to drive and have trust in, especially in these sorts of conditions.
It does have a very backwards driving style where it turns very much on the way in, and then because of the engine placement is supremely stable on the way out. Sometimes to the detriment of the driver who wants it to very, very much turn before they drive off the track.
Oh, as Maudsley drifts through what appears to be turn 1 there, and spins at turn 2, trying to get back onto the track. He took to the pit exit a little bit there.
Just gassing it up at the wrong time with the rears on the sand.
And that puts him down to 8th position now, with Bongus up to 7th.
As Kai continues his march back to the front following that damage stop. I guess next up on his hit list will be Thomas Jack in the World War II relic car, I mean the Reiter.
Yes, I believe Dan Gurney drove this car. As Thomas looking to pass Gottlieb as a back marker. Blue flags being waved. It must be a horrible feeling to get passed by a Reiter.
That is a pretty terrifying moment, not knowing which way the car in front is going to go, because let's
have a look at this onboard.
Yeah, Gottlieb, he's not obliged to really do anything in that instance. He can either try and let Thomas through on the outside, or he can take the racing line and let him through on the inside. And there's just a bit of a miscommunication between the two drivers there.
Yeah, but it's probably even harder when you consider that his steering wheel is probably made out of wood. The balsa wood steering column.
The rain's interfering with his grip with the varnish on the wheel.
Oh, as he gets slidey out to turn. Oh, it's not really a turn there, but turn after turn 2 that isn't named a turn.
Now, of note, Moreno is working his way back forwards towards John Doe, Germany, getting the gap down to less than a second, just on the Rahal straight this lap.
Yep, as Pierre Moreno trying to again retake that position. 0.6 between them.
As the Our AI help bot has decided to try and get a few more advertisements out in the chat before Husky smites it down.
That's nice. Let's get rid of that. Pierre Morello up onto the start-finish straight again.
I'm not sure if Jondo Germany is just, his focus is just starting to wane a little bit, or Moreno has got himself back in the zone.
Moreno obviously a very good driver when it comes to ACC, especially in the Porsche. It's nice to see him back in the Porsche after his excursion into the, I believe it's the Honda for the Watkins 6 hours. But I
With
don't
which
think,
he did not appreciate the tyre wear.
well, I don't think his biggest concern is tyre wear in this moment. But I don't think he's been enjoying the weather too much this afternoon.
He just makes a couple of mistakes on this lap, allowing Jondo Germany to creep away down the track.
Yeah, as the gap falls back to 1.1 seconds between the race leader and second place, although closed up again, coming up to the corkscrew to 0.8.
Gary has unfortunately managed to get another drive-through for track limits.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, and again, he was, he must have had an off, and he was actually being caught for a second there by the GT4 car of Jay Langevin, who has just got past him as he enters the pit lane.
I believe it was on corkscrew on the inside of turn 8A.
Yes,
As
turn
you check the
8A.
right hand. Yes,
The
that is actually
corkscrew.
quite interesting. We should note how the numbering system for this track works.
Yeah, so instead of numbering a chicane, as you usually would, they decided to call it an 8 and 8A. Why? I don't
That's
know.
leading to the fun numbering system with how, say, turn 1, it's kind of got that. What track does it remind me of where there's a kink at the start? Oh,
Kialami.
Kialami, that's the one. Where there's a kink that isn't really a corner, but you know what? Let's give it a number to confuse people.
Oh,
As the
as
leaders just head past Schuppe, narrowly
yeah,
avoiding him.
Sherba, however, still maintaining first in AM category, or bronze category, as it's sometimes referred to here. But let's go with AM. AM sounds nicer.
He's still got a healthy gap of 10 seconds to Toby Long behind.
Who is silver, and another 23 seconds behind that to his closest AM competitor of Gottlieb, as Taylor is round at the corkscrew.
Quite a
Where
significant
is he?
crash at that.
Oh, he is spinning. That could play. If he can't get this out of here, this could be a very
He has
interesting.
it moving, but I imagine that he's just going to have to brave it out with the damage he has. The bonnet on that is all the way up at the front.
If he,
That was a really heavy
yes,
crash.
if he pits now, he's putting himself very close to Hoover, but he could. No, he couldn't. If he had to repair for damage, he will not make it as he sends the marker boards flying. What will he do?
It would be in his
He's
best
staying
interest to stay out. He's got a minute's worth of time. He'll lose that minute if he goes into the
Yep.
pits. However, he's unlikely to lose that much of a gap in the 3 minutes that remain if he just slows it down a bit.
Yep. And
As
there are
Dark is
only, yes, there are only 2.5 minutes remaining in this race.
Now, I'm not quite sure what's happened, but Darkis has managed to retake the lead from Jundo Germany. I can't believe I've missed it.
I missed it as well as you're watching the spinning leader of GT4.
It must have been in the confusion that happened at Corkscrew when Lee dropped it on what looked like the sand.
Time has gotten away from me here. I'm going to put into the chat really quick a link to a driver of the day document if you would like to fill it out. And who is your driver of the day? Let's find out. Train Boy says in the chat that John Doe Germany was taken out by the spin, he says, which I assume is the spinning car of Taylor.
So he was taken out by Taylor's spin. Oh, that is very much unfortunate.
As he's going to hope to get back, or hope for some sort of mistake as he drifts a little bit around the final corner as Hoove also gets wide there, GT4. If we have a look, there isn't too much going on down the grid except for Tino Gunkel, who is off. I'm not quite sure where on the track this is. Ah,
Like
it's
the
up.
Rahal Straight.
Yep, it's up after turn 6 on the Rahal Straight. He comes across the track and gets collected by what I believe is Kai Forza. That is not looking good, and Kai Forza is probably not going to be happy about that as the leaders make their way onto the final. Bingus McBongus now, after that incident with Forza on the rear of the Porsche, and we're hoping to make up 6th place from him.
Let me have a look. Was there significant contact with
With Kai, yes. Yes, it looked like Gunkel came across the track
Oh,
and Kai just gets collected up and slammed
holy
straight into the
moly!
side of him.
That is massive
As
damage on his front
Bonga
end.
sticks it up the inside of turn 2, but now it's going to be left on the outside for turn 3. But he's going to hope that position will be his.
And he has managed to go in alongside Kai, and he's cleared him on the way in. Oh, Kai just for 1 second just nearly nosed into the back of Bongus.
As Bongas takes 6th place. The consolation to Kai, of course, will be that as a silver class driver, he is, and we have missed it, sorry, but Pierre Moreno has crossed the line to come first. John Doe Germany comes second. Ian Arnold now makes his way up to take the lead of, and take the the winning position, first place in silver category.
The battle for P6 is still raging on with Kai giving it everything he can.
As Sherp then takes the final place of AM, the winning place of AM, as Kai continues to battle against McBonga.
Now, as long as Bongus can keep it clean, it looks like he may just have this in the
As
bag.
Gottlieb is round on the exit of turn 10. Keep posted on if that loses him a position as Delisle's coming behind him. I want to stick with these two. I think that is Bongas having taken it. As Gottlieb gets taken on the final corner of the final lap for P2 in class, but they're going to be fighting neck and neck until the line. I think Gottlieb might just have it in him. This is
I think he's just going to hold out. Holy moly.
That was a good positioning and good defending there from Gottlieb to take that position back after losing it, almost losing it on the final corner.
Now we have a surprise GT4 winner. It's just worth noting that Taylor has actually been disqualified from the race by the simulation for not pitting with a damaged car. So earlier when we thought, oh, it's in his best interest to stay out, he must have had a meatball and not noticed it, or
he must have done.
Hope that he could finish the race before the period finished.
That means that your class leader for GT4 is Brad Hoover.
With a well-deserved win, to be honest. Considering the pace that he had. Of course, Lee was on one for most of the race, but it is up to the drivers to make it through the trials and tribulations that is motor racing.
So there you have it. That is our race.
Yeah, so Taylor got a, sorry, just to answer the chat, Taylor got the DSQ for what I believe to be a meatball flag.
As I'm now going to be stuck onto this page, which is unfortunate.
Leave if you hit drive in.
Yes, it will do. There we are. Should we have a little look? This is the fun bit I've been waiting to use.
So let me go check the championship standings to see how this affects things. Moreno, so since Xenon was not here, I believe what this will do is move Bongus up in the championship a little bit. This will become Xenon's drop week. It should move Bongus to first, and Darky should get a nice boost up the pro rankings. Subnai will extend his championship lead in the silver class.
Ignore
that. With another class win for himself in silver.
So here we are. It didn't want to load the right thing. So, your winners of today's race. At least I believe that's correct. I might have that wrong.
Those are correct, yes.
Good. It's one of the other things where you want to make sure it's working. So Pierre Morello wins pro category, with Ian Arnold winning in silver, Max Schupp in AM, and Brad Hoover. Surprising win. Not so much because of Brad Hoover, more because of the Lee Taylor's dominance throughout this season, taking the GT4 win.
I will say the most impressive for me has got to be Ian Arnold relative to the rest of his class, absolutely smashing it today with a dominant victory in silver.
I'm going to put the call. Oh, gotta move back up.
You'd like me to alert the drivers who are...
Yes, please.
I will do that.
As we see our race winners once again. The driver of the day with a whole whopping one response, and I'm not really even sure it's not for himself. Thomas Jack, apparently. Which, what would you say about that, Cookie?
I'm not too surprised considering that he had to lump the writer around, so that may be an admiration vote for him.
As I take us on a nice little adventure around this beautiful circuit of Laguna Seca. Although, not quite a place you'd want to spend your holiday in this weather.
So the drivers are aware which of them will be heading in for interviews, so we will see if any of them, if any, are available.
So
Let me see if
this was waiting. Who was your driver of the day, if you have anyone in particular?
my driver of the day. Ooh, um, that is a tough one. It looked like pretty much everyone had hardship moments at some point in the race.
That's
Um,
certainly true.
I'd probably have to give it kind of like I said to Sub9, just because I didn't really see many negative things happen towards him in the race. It looked like pretty much everyone else had some kind of an off moment. Yeah, I think he managed to keep his race nice and clean, and that helped move him up in the standings and on the overall track position.
I think I'd have to agree with you there. He was extraordinarily clean racer today. Didn't make too many mistakes as others did. Wasn't really in too many battles either, which is quite a good thing I think for this particular race and this particular track condition.
And in the end, he only finished around 12 seconds off the lead.
And
So
also won his class.
now we have two people waiting in the interview room. I will bring Hoove in first for GT4, and then we will bring Chopper in.
Very well.
Hello, Hoove.
Hey guys.
How are you
How
feeling?
I'm still like a little bit of shock because man, well, it was a great race. I did a lot better than I had initially thought I would, and then yeah, I was just trying to hold on to second place there at the end, and then all of a sudden I saw someone was disqualified, and then someone mentioned in the chat that I think it was Lee Taylor. I was like, what? What just happened?
Were you expecting? I guess from that you weren't expecting a win today. What do you think won it for you? You had quite a few good battles in there.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, there were a lot of great battles. Qualifying was super close. I don't know. I tried to do some practice beforehand because I knew it was going to be a wet race, and really, I just wanted to practice to make sure I could survive the whole hour. So maybe that helped. A little bit of luck. I did notice there were a bunch of times where Langevin, if that's how you pronounce his name, he was behind me, and a group of GT3s would come up and I think kind of slow him down a little bit. So um, yeah, I think the GT3s kind of worked out to my favor this race.
I guess that's very. But it's good. It's good that you still had to fight for it, even if obviously the disqualification was unexpected by even us in here.
Yeah, you still have to
Yeah.
put yourself in that position.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there was a few times where I dipped my tires to the dirt there, just taking the turns a little bit too wide to try and open up the gap a little bit. But um, yeah, just held on to it, and it was a great race.
All right, that's very good. And how are you feeling for the rest of the season? One race to go. Nice little Nürburgring race to cap it off. What do you think you can do?
You know, I like Nürburgring. I'm hoping for a good turnout at GT4s. I was hoping for more today, but you know, still very close, very good racing. So, if the next race, you know, I don't really. Of course, I would love to be on the podium, but I really get a kick out of the battles. So if we can get a good grid and just have some good racing, I think that'd be a great way to end the season.
I think that is a pretty apt way of putting it, just for the fun of the racing.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you, Hoove, and good job.
Congrats on the class win, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Speak to you later.
See ya.
I'll be bringing Sherpa in next, as he was next in the queue for an interview. This
Yep,
is
the
our bronze winner.
AM winner.
But the
Oh.
also
I think we interrupted them mid-conversation in the cooldown room, as it is. We need to
We
change the
talked
name
about-
to cooldown room.
we talked about the traction from the cars.
So
The
how
Porsche
was
was
not much of it.
unbelievable.
the Porsches really did seem to dominate, but even with that, you have taken a class win. Congratulations.
Yes, the third in a row.
Well done. How was it? How was it driving in these conditions today?
Well, with the Audi was very scared, very scared. So every slow corner, the rear end tries to spin away. So it was very dangerous and scared sometimes. So I took I had 40 seconds in front of Gottlieb, and then I turned the TC to 5 and 6, and then the rear end was normally on, so I can't manage the win.
Of course, and obviously you were going into this race tied with Gottlieb on points.
Yes, but yes, Spa was a good qualifying for me, but then my direct drive wheel goes down, and bam, Rouge, the race was over.
Are you thinking that you're going to be able to, come out ahead of him following the next race, the final race of the season?
Yes, I think a P2 or P3 is enough by 3 wins in a row.
Well, Gottlieb
So-
at the moment has got his. Where did he come today, Cookie?
Gottlieb finished second in AM
Second
class. So
in-
you're,
so
you're,
he's
in
got-
you're still in for a close championship.
Yep. So
Yes.
he's going to be only 3 points ahead of you.
Yes.
Well, you got to pull something out next race at the Nürburgring, I guess.
Yes, yeah, Nürburgring is a good track for the Audi. I'm not sure if the Lexus can go the pace if I find my pace.
Are you a fan of the Nürburgring?
Oh yes. Well,
Every night.
my fastest time was in the BMW 154.3. So I'm with the Audi. I'm not so fast in this moment, but I have 2 week holidays and I can train a lot.
So you're going to be in the simulator a lot, getting ready for it.
Yes, I can
In the
simulate it all.
simulator.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
I can
looks
try
like
a lot. I can try a lot of training and practice races. So I look how fast am I.
Well, good luck to you, and congratulations again.
Thanks. Yes, next season I think I will be silver.
I
I'm
think
very sure.
There'll definitely be
expect
some
that may
classes
happen.
going up. Although this race,
So-
of course, was very mixed
Yes.
because of the weather.
Yes, Mount Panorama. I was in another league for an AM driver, so I was faster than all silver class drivers in Mount Panorama. So yes, I think next year the silver class will be very strong.
Well,
I
good luck
expect
to you,
it maybe.
Thanks.
and we shall move you out and speak to our race winner in pro.
Yes.
I will bring Darkus in.
Hello,
Hello.
Darkius.
Hello.
Hello. How was that for you? You had quite an interesting race.
Interesting is one word for it, isn't it? First stint completely fine. Second stint, absolute circus. I was just spinning everywhere. I think something happened early stint on the second one. Maybe I like had a bad spin or something like that, and after that, immediately the tires started going at the rear in places where I was not expecting it. So I think I had a total of like, I don't know, 4 spins, but I still had the pace over John. So, and then the thing happened between
Yes.
John and but I think even without that, unless he defended like a lion, which I'm sure he can do, I think eventually I would have gone back because the pace difference was interesting. He was quicker on the straights, but I was quicker in the turns, so it definitely made for an interesting battle.
No, I
The
think
car. Oh, go
yeah.
on.
I was gonna say I think you had 4 spins, but you had quite a few little dips into the gravel beyond that. How was the
Yeah.
car to drive? Especially
Um.
after your first pit stop, you seemed very unstable having come out of
Yeah.
that stop.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know if there was more standing water or something like that, but I obviously had the same setup because you can't change that in between the 2 stints, and it just became a lot crazier. And then I realized towards the end of the second stint, I started turning up the traction control, and I think there was just more water, and the tires were not as good. So, yeah, after I put it down, actually, I don't know if you know, my last lap was almost my best lap, and that's when I turned up the traction control. So, good thing I figured it out at the last lap.
Well,
Would you
that's
say it
certainly.
was mostly a traction control thing? Once you raise the traction control, did it feel better? Because I could hear a lot of TC cut on the helicam from a lot of cars, and it
Yeah.
sounded pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I mean the Porsche is got quite good traction control to be honest. So I was running quite low, which probably explains what you were seeing. I was running TC1 at 3 and TC2 at 4, which is quite low for the rain. In the dry you can run, TC3 and TC3, so it's really not massive difference. So I realized I was kind of playing with the fire a little bit too much, and I turned it up to be safe.
Yeah. Well, did you enjoy the battle that you had with John?
Well,
Was it like
that's
a
what I
fun
was
one?
thinking. Yeah, because I was like, maybe I'm subconsciously screwing this up so I can have a battle. But I'm glad that I had that battle because me and John, go way back. We've raced together on a few endurance races, so it's always good to battle him. He's a fairly clean driver. That's why the last incident was pretty unfortunate that we didn't get to settle the battle once and for all.
But it does. How are you feeling about the championship at the moment, considering how much of it you've been able to do so far? Are you looking at that, or are you more just looking at the race as an individual event?
To be honest, I've had no luck whatsoever with the championship because I've been busy. I've been moving houses. I didn't have a steering wheel for about 3 weeks, which is what I was missing quite a lot of races. Now that I'm back, though, I definitely want to, get back full into the championship. So objective was to win this one, and it'll be the same next race.
You feeling alright for Nürburgring with the Porsche?
Yes, I just had a bit of practice earlier. I'm not as quick as I used to before patch 1.8. I could break into 53s before 1.8, but this time around, I don't think so. But should be interesting. Nürburgring usually gives good racing, and it's a proper, big straight line where things can happen. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Besides the section that should not be named, it is a pretty enjoyable track.
The mountain section, the Schumacher S.
No, the Mercedes arena.
Oh yes, yes.
I assume you kind of like that in the Porsche though, with the ability to turn and brake and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I tend to because the braking and turning is quite good on the Porsche. Obviously, it's just not consistent. It's not. It doesn't want you to do the same lap every time. It's quite. It's tricky to juggle at first.
How did the sorry, just one more question. How did the BOP feel for the Porsche?
Yeah, the
I know
Porsche
Well,
was very
like
dominant.
traditionally the Porsche is nuts OP here, but did it
well,
still feel like that?
yeah. I mean, they've got to fix it. It's honestly, I feel bad, right? Like going around in something that goes like 2 seconds a lap quicker, especially when I know it's a full rain race. With the Porsche, if you know for sure the whole race is going to be rain, you also can have quite a good advantage because you can turn up the splitter to the max, basically the front splitter, and that gives you aero grip that other cars perhaps cannot get as easily.
Yeah, they don't have the splitter option.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, anyway, that's been pretty insightful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and congratulations again.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for doing the commentary. I'm looking forward to rewatch it.
I
No
hope
problem, it
it's
was
been
really
all
fun.
right.
All right,
Cheers,
we're gonna
guys.
bring Sublime. Peace.
See ya.
And let's get Sublime
So
for our
Sublime.
silver class winner.
Yep.
Hello. Sorry about the wait.
Oh, no worries.
How was the race for you?
Pretty faultless, I would say. I was lucky to qualify, fourth, and then from there on out, I didn't really make any mistakes or getting into any incidents. So I was kind of honestly, other than the first few laps, I was kind of lapping around by myself. Didn't quite catch up to Dark and John Doe, and was walking away from everybody else behind me. So I was kind of off on my own.
That sounds quite a lot like how we assessed your race at the end of the stream. We were like trying to work out who our driver of the day was, and I picked you because, especially since you're in silver at the moment, finishing P3 overall is nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure
Well,
you were
the
one of the only people, sorry, who didn't go
Mm.
off, or at least we didn't see you go off the track a lot.
No, I had I didn't have any game induced off tracks. I thought a few times I did it in the corkscrew, but I never got the notification. So yeah, I don't think I had any offs at all.
Sounds like a pretty. Did you enjoy the race, or was it like you said
Yeah, it's
because it was?
good. I mean, it's I don't know, I don't do rain a lot, but I enjoy it. And I always feel like I'm way more like twitchy, in the rain, like every little movement the car makes, I'm like trying to compensate for it. So I'm glad it's over. I get to relax. I wouldn't want to do more than an hour of that, but it was definitely enjoyable. I mean, the finishing position has a lot to do with that. Enjoyment.
Maybe go have a shower or something.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So how are you feeling
Well-
then, going into the final race with a little bit of an advantage over your fellow drivers in the silver class?
Yeah,
Nürburgring?
I honestly don't have any experience driving the Porsche in the Nürburgring. I'm a new Porsche driver. I know it's supposed to be strong there, but I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you. So I got to do a lot of practice, put in a lot of seat time, and figure out what my pace is gonna be. See if I'll be competitive or not.
Well, hopefully you'll do as clean a race as you did today.
Yeah. Thanks.
Anyway, yeah, congrats on the silver class win, and go take that well-deserved shower. To be honest.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the stream, and thanks for being awesome in general.
No, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'll
Thanks.
see you later.
Yep. See you guys.
So, as we come to the end, all the interviews done, everything done, hopefully gone smoothly.
Believe that brings us our 1 hour of Laguna to a close. To be honest, this has been it was really fun. To be honest, it got a little bit spaced out in the middle just before the pit stop phase, and then big thank you to Dark and John Doe for having a bunch of
Yep.
spins and making it interesting. And just it spiced itself up again at the end. It was
It was a race that at times had very little going on, and then suddenly had about 15 things going on at once. It was very reminiscent of doing Watkins.
Yeah, when you get like a flood of action, then you're talking about pizza the next 5 minutes when nothing's going on.
It was Chinese.
Oh, Chinese, yes.
I think there's one last thing to do then. That is to make the announcement.
Yes. Oh, yes. Of course.
Yes. As any eagle-eyed pals will have seen on the race app page, there is an endurance race. We are taking a short summerish break of August, and we'll be back in September with the. Do you want to make the announcement, Cookie?
Sure. The
There it is.
Racing Pals 4 hours of Hungaroring. We figured since we've given you a tight track, we'll bring the time down a little bit so you're not slogging through 8 hours. But Hungaroring just to focus on, maybe not the big wide open tracks that are easy for multi-class. Really challenge the drivers a little bit more.
Also, it's a track that I personally love. I have a special place in my heart for it, and which should be is less raced. So that is on the 3rd of September this year. Will be commentated by I'm not entirely sure right now, but I think it's going to be deep cuts and some co-commentator. Live stewarded with GT3 and GT4 entries available. And if you want to, right now, you can go onto the Race App page and book in, and the official posting shall be done some point this week on the Discord server.
It'll be teams of 2. You don't really need a team of more than 2 for 4 hours, but teams of 2 will be available to get that endurance racing feel.
Or solo if you are a Chad.
Yes, 4 hours chattery for solos is much more acceptable than 6 hours chattery, where your knees start to give out in the last 2 hours. But it should start around our typical endurance start time of around 4 o'clock British standard time. I think we're still in standards time at that point in the year,
British
but it'll be
summertime,
around
yes.
mid-afternoon British start time when we
Start
usually do our endurance starts. Yeah.
How many different words can we substitute for the S in British summertime?
British standard, summer, British stupid. I don't know. There's lots of different ones we can do.
Okay.
But
Anyway,
I'm looking forward to Hungaroring.
Yes, it should be fun. And in 2 weeks' time, it'll be the season finale of RP Series Season 5 at the Nürburgring. And
Hopefully with a little bit more grip for the cars.
hopefully, and that should be possibly back with your usual commentator of that Lasky. Or who knows?
The absolute Chad himself.
Maybe
Anyway, it's been a
make
pleasure to
return.
commentate this race. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a learning experience, I think, for both of us.
Yes.
Obviously, I've never done the stream side, and I don't think you've done the commentary side before.
I've never done the talking out loud to other people's side. But no, it's been fun. They put on a good show for us.
Yeah, and I hope you've all enjoyed it at home. Although we're all at home, so it's a weird thing to say.
Anyway, it's been me, Jurgens.
And it's been me, James Andrews. And
goodbye.
good night.